This is Gemara Pesachim Daf Kuf Yud Beis, the final day of Chodesh Adar. Today's shir should be is a schoser for a shlema for man of the Mega Chaim and Sarah. Shalom Asivim Reis Eidos Har Baskenan Delit Basim V'Chayis Hayu Yisrael Memindel as a person Shalei Shalom As Naomi Shavtei of Yerechana Paul David Nitri V'Shmol and Tila Denim V'Chan Reitzl Milchai Basmina V'Soil Shar Choyle Yisrael. We pick it up on the top of Kuf Yud Beis Amud Aleph as we close in on this fabulous Masechta. We have a day of Agadata today, a day of Agadata on Sunday. And then the final week, we're going to get back into the Inyanim of the Seder as we all prepare with Rosh Chodesh Nisan, preparing for Pesach. And again, we're trying to get these shirim up nice and early. Whoever would like to get a head start, do an extra chazara in order to prepare for Yantif. Let's begin on the top of Kuf Yud Beis Amud Aleph. Let's take it from the top line once again. Says the Gemara, "De mesochar v'lo mashi yadei, de mesochar v'lo mashi yadi mefachet sheva yami." If someone lets blood and does not wash his hands, then he's going to have he's going to be anxious. He's going to be in fear for 7 days. There's a discussion whether this applies to a blood test, whether this applies to giving blood. It definitely doesn't hurt to wash your hands, but it's not pashit. This is more referring to something called blood letting. Says the Gemara, the shakal amazye v'lo mashi yadei. If someone gets a haircut, again, another little bit unknown halacha. If someone gets a haircut, and these things are brought down in Shulchan Aruch, if someone gets a haircut, doesn't wash his hands, he's going to be afraid for 3 days. The shakal turfe. If someone cuts his nails, v'lo mashi yadei, he's going to be anxious for 1 day. He's not going to know why he is anxious, meaning it's going to come from this spiritual force that he's not going to realize. Yada Suye, someone who rests his hand, darga darga on his upper lip, lefachta, that shows that he's anxious, that shows that he's nervous. Yada fusav, he rests his hands on his forehead, then darga lishinsa shows that he's very tired, that he's falling asleep. Again, what we just saw, very important, is that people should realize you should wash your hands after haircuts, after after washing your hands, after cutting your nails, and after bloodletting. Says the Gemara, we learned in the Mishnah. Another unknown halacha. You keep food under your bed. The question everyone asks. But it's in a kli. Says the Gemara, even if it's covered with a steel utensil, there's an evil spirit that rests upon them. And of course, one should be careful. The halacha is b'diavad. If it was done, it would generally make up, but it's definitely something one should be careful not to keep food under his bed. One should not drink water. Mayim, not yain. One should not drink water on Tuesday night and Friday night. Vim shalsa dama barajai. And if he does, blood is going to be on his head. And because of a sakana, obviously, it's a bit difficult to understand. The Rashbam over here points out what it means is beloy ner. You drink without a candle, seemingly because then there's some evil spirit on the water. But if you have a candle, then it's going to be gotten rid of. Okay, says the Gemara, don't drink without a light on Tuesday and Friday night. Ma'isakana ruach ra vim sachi. You're very thirsty, and I guess you also don't have a light. Ma'itakante, what should he do? Says the Gemara, you should do the following. Shiva koilos, name of Shiva koilos, Shama David ala mayim, say the 7 koilos, the David HaMelech sat on the water of a hadar nishte, and then he could drink. Shenamar, as the Psukim teach us, these are Psukim in Eov, Psukim in Tilm, and these are going to be the 7 times it mentions kol Hashem ala mayim, Ela Kavadirim, Hashem al Mayim Rabim, Kol Hashem Bakoyach, Kol Hashem Bahadr, number 3, Kol Hashem Shever Razim, Vayishvar Hashem Saraz Elvanan, Kol Hashem Chaytziv Lavayzish, number 5, Kol Hashem Yochel Midbar, number 6, Yochel Hashem Midbar Kadesh, Kol Hashem Yochel Yolois, Vechsav Yaris, Vechloi Kul Amer Kavoid. The 7 mentions the word kol, that is what he should say, and then he'll be able to drink, and he doesn't have to be worried about the harm that could befall him from drinking this water in the dark. V'loi, and if he can't do that, name Achi, what should he say? It should say the following. Again, one of these like incantations that we don't fully understand what these things mean. Says the Gemara, say lul shafan and nigger not they're fine. Bein koich le yasimna are sitting between. I'm going to sit between the stars. Bein beli shmeina azona. I'm going to walk between thin and fat people, and then somehow that's going to remove the evil spirit, the ruach ra, and I'll be able to drink the water. Says the Gemara, vilai. And if you can't do that, what do you do? Says the Gemara in the second white line, Ikanish Ba'adev, there's another person there. Nitare, wake up the other person, and tell him, Plani bar Plani says Plani by his Plani, meaning referring to himself, is thirsty for water, v'hader nishta, and then he could drink. V'ilai, and if he can't do that, mekarkish nichtma chatzba, you should jiggle and shake the lid of the barrel, v'hader nishti, and then he could drink. V'ilai nishti ba midi, and if not, what should he do? Nashti ba midi v'hader nishti. He should throw something into the water, and then he should drink again. Different ideas to get rid of this ruach ra. The easiest would have been to turn on the light. You don't have a light. You say these 7 koilets. You don't have the 7 koilets. You can't say that. You wake up someone, you tell him plenty about plenty needs to drink. You can't do that. You shake the barrel. You can't do that. You throw something into the water. Tanur Rabbanan says the Gemara is similar discussion with regarding to water and evil spirits. Should not drink water not from rivers, and not from ponds, and again a similar idea. Because the danger, because the ruach ra that potentially is there. So you should be careful not to drink these things at night. Exact same concept. If you drink it, potentially blood is in your head. It could be a sakana. My sakana shavriri. This is a sakana of shavriri, which Rashbam explains means it could potentially cause a person to become blind. A certain shade, a certain ruach ra that can make someone blind. Vim sachi, and again the same discussion. Might the kante someone's thirsty and he has nothing to drink and it's middle of the night and all he has is a pond. What should he do? Again, he can if someone there with him, should tell the other person, referring to himself is very thirsty. And if he cannot do that, should tell himself, Pliny told me, Amy, my mother said, is dar mishviri. Be careful of shivriri, briri, riri, yari, ri, and then he'll be able to drink. Somehow saying these words is going to make the evil spirit go away. He's thirsty for water in an earthenware cup. That's what he should say, and then he'll be able to drink the water and not have any concerns. That is the end of the water evil spirit Gemara. Says the Gemara Vafilu min hatamchui. Going back to our Mishnah for a moment, we said in the Mishnah that the Dalit Kaisis is reminiscent of the Dalit Shenis Kula, as we mentioned many times. Everyone has to drink, and the Mishnah taught us that even someone who is supported from the tamchay, from the collection plate, even he has to get Dalit Kaisis. Says Gemara Pshita. Of course, what's the chiddush? They have to give him everything. It's a mitzvah. You have to give him the Dalit Kaisis. Answers Gemara Lo Nitzcha El Afil Rav Akiva. Fundamental din, even according to Rav Akiva Damar. What does Rav Akiva hold? Rav Akiva holds, if you have a choice of having a delicacy for Shabbos, but you don't have to collect money to have a special thing for Shabbos, or not having extra food for Shabbos, but not collecting money, says Rav Akiva, make your Shabbos into a weekday and don't come out collecting money from people. But it says the Gemara, Rav Akiva only says that with regard to Shabbos. But over here it's a higher level with regard to the Dalit Kaisis, the Arba Kaisis, you're drinking to publicize the miracle, so you can't just say, I don't want to collect money. The opposite, you should collect money in order to fulfill the Dalit Kaisis. Says the Gemara, Tanat Veliyo, Afabisham Rav Akiva. Even though Rav Akiva said, I say Shabbat Chachovat Tzarech Lebriyos, don't collect money for Shabbos. Avol, says the Eliyahu. You should always make sure to have a little bit of an extra, a little bit of a delicacy for Shabbos. My nihu. What's that referring to? Amrav Kapapa Kasa the Ersina, some sort of fish dish. Again, the take-home point is hopefully no one's at this level of poverty. We always have to make sure Kavod Shabbos to have something special. Kidditanan, as we learned in the Mishnah, Rav Yehuda ben Tema Omer, says Rav Yehuda ben Tema, a very, very famous Mishnah. I don't know if the application to our Gemara is as famous. Haviaz kanamer, be bold as an eagle, a leopard, v'kal kaneshar, and light as an eagle, and ratzka tzvi, and swift as a deer, v'kiva kari, and strong as a lion. Lastly, we say Navicha Shabashamayim, which Gemara is learning, you have to give it extra. You don't have money, you have to overexert yourself somehow to have a little bit of an extra, something l'kavod Shabbos. Tanur Rabbanan says the Gemara back into Agadata world. Shiva Dvarim Siva Rav Akiva Rav Yeshua ben Hai. 7 things Rav Akiva commanded his son Rav Yeshua ben my child. Number 1, don't sit at a high place in the city. V'tishna, and learn over there. V'al tidar be'ir. And don't dwell in a city, and again, each one of these numerous pshatim, should it be in a city with Talmidei Chacham? What does that mean? Okay, it means that if only there are Talmidei Chacham, there's no one else running the city, then the city can go disarray because no one's going to be in control. People might not listen to the rules. Again, different pshatim. Again, this we actually discussed in yeshiva recently. You should not walk into your house suddenly. This is the Makar, or Chashochan quotes this. I don't remember where. This is the Makar. You should knock on a door before you walk into a house. You should never just walk in pitom. Certainly you should just walk into your friend's house. I think that one we all know. But we see even in your own house. This is where the Indian comes, that we know there are people that they'll knock even on their own front door. You should not wear shoes in your feet. Hashkin ve'ochel, get up early in the day to eat. Bekayitz in the summer, because the sun the winter because of the cold. Is the final statement. Not the final statement, I'm sorry. You should make your Shabbos into a weekday and not collect money. And you should work and deal with people that the hour is fortunate for them, meaning people that are going through a good time, those are the people you should have business dealings with. Amar Rabba, and Rabba qualifies the final statement. That final statement that said you should have business dealings with people that have the good fortune, says Rabba, it doesn't mean to buy or sell to them. Rather, what does it mean? It means if someone's going through a good time, he has a good mazel, now is the time that you should become partners with him. Says the Gemara, but now the Rav Shmuel bar Yitzchak taught us. What's the meaning of the pasuk? Yadav berachas. Yadav beirachta, that you've blessed everything that he took. Anyone that Eov gave a pruta to got blessing. We learn out from there. It doesn't only mean to become partners, but rather even to buy, to sell to him. Shaber Dami, you should as well do that if someone's going through a good time. Those are the type of people that you want to have business with. Says the Gemara, continuing. On a similar theme, 5 items Rav Akiva commanded Rav Shimon ben Yochai when Rav Akiva himself was sitting in prison. Amar Lai, before we get those 5 things, the Gemara has a bit of a conversation between Rav Akiva, the Rebbe in prison, and the Talmud Rav Shimon ben Yochai. Amar Lai says, Rav Shimon ben Yochai says, Rebbe, Lamani Taira. Rav Akiva, teach me Taira. Amar, I'm not going to teach you. Amar Lai, Rav Shimon ben Yochai responds, if you don't teach me, I'm going to tell Yochi, my father, and he's going to stitch on you to the government. Okay, difficult what's going on over here. The Mefarshim explained. Rav Akiva was ready, he was in jail. But he was basically saying, I have such a desire to learn, I'm even going to go so far to snitch to the government to make your situation in jail even worse if you don't teach me. Obviously, he knew what his Rebbe wanted to hear. And Amar Lai, his Rebbe Rav Akiva responded, more than the calf wants to nurse. Para, the cow, the mother, wants to give off milk to the son. Meaning, Rav Akiva says, I also want to teach you Torah, but it's like on us the fashis to teach you Torah right now. Amar Lai, Rav Shimon Yochai does not give up, and he says, who's the one that's going to get killed? The calf. I'm going to be the one that's going to take the fall, and I want to learn Torah, Rebbe. So teach me. Amar Lai, Rav Akiva responds, you want to commit suicide? Hang yourself from a big tree. End of story. Before we continue, what does that mean? Different pshatim, exactly what it means, but just one simple pshat is that Rav Akiva was teaching him that when you paskin, always be toilet, hang it on an Ilan Gadol, always say it over in the name of someone great. Obviously, he wasn't telling him to commit suicide. Now Rav Akiva, the Rebbe, continues. This is the first item that he taught him. When you teach your children, make sure you always teach them from a sefer, from a book, that a sefer which is correct, not one that has mistakes. He says the Gemara, because if you teach them from a new book that might have mistakes, we know that a young child is very impressionable, but the impression sticks. So if you teach them something incorrectly, it could stick, and therefore now always make sure to teach the child with the sefer which is correct. Now he continues with other items that he gave over to his Talmud of Shimon ben Yochai. Do not cook in a pot that your friend cooked. Says the Gemara, what does that mean not to cook in a pot that your friend cooks? Says the Gemara, Grusha b'chaye bayla. This means marrying a divorcee, a grusha, while her husband is still alive. Why not? Tamar Mar, says the Gemara in the last line, Garshan asa grusha. If a divorced person marries a divorcee, arba deyas b'mita. There's chas v'shalom, 4 different ideas in the bed when they're sleeping together and having intimate relationships, which of course is the worst thing in the world, to think of a different woman, and he's thinking about his ex-wife and she's thinking about her ex-husband, and therefore it's potentially as if there's 4 people in the bed, and that's a terrible thing, and that is the reason why do not marry a grusha, divorcee, while her husband is still alive. Doesn't only mean a divorcee, it means even a almana, someone who their husband passed away. What's the reason, says the Gemara? As we turn over to Kuf Yebez and Mebez, Lefish Inkuletz Bayi Shavais, not all fingers, literally referring to obviously the Aver Tashmish, as the top Rashban points out, are equal, meaning that the woman might get different levels of pleasure from her ex-husband than from her new husband, therefore a different reason why it's not, one should not marry an almana. But of course, this is not the ironclad rule, these are just different memras in the Gemara. Says the Gemara, Mitzvah, Rav Akiva continues teaching of Shem Bar Yochai in the top line of Kuf Yebez and Mebez, mitzvah v'kuf gadol. What's a mitzvah that could have a lot of profit? Oichal peiros leischar, oichal peiros. Oichal peiros v'loi. This word v'loi, the Gersa changes to with a vav, not to not, but to him. Schar, and to him is reward. This refers to lend someone money, so you get a mitzvah, and that person will give you his land as collateral. V'loi, and to you is going to be schar, because you're going to get his land as collateral, and you're about to eat the peiros, the fruits from his field. So you're going to gain doubly, number 1, that you did a mitzvah, you lent the money, number 2, you're going to get a schar, you're going to get a profit from you being able to eat the peiros, the fruits of the field. Says the Gemara, mitzvah v'guf tahar. What's a mitzvah? That the guf is it's a pure mitzvah. Says the Gemara, marry a woman, have children. That's a wonderful way to have a pure mitzvah, to have children. Different mafarshim over here. Either it means because when someone gets married, he doesn't have evil thoughts. If someone who doesn't have, we know that the Gemara teaches us in Kedushin, someone who doesn't have a wife, unfortunately could have bad thoughts. But that's what the Gemara means. Says the Gemara, continuing down, now says the Gemara, there were 4 things that Rabbeinu HaKadosh, which obviously is Rav Yehuda Nasi Rebbe, taught to his children. Number 1, Al Tidar B'Chshen Nitziv. Don't live in a place called Nitziv, Nitziv. Mishom, the Leitzane have, they were Leitzanim, mockers, worst thing in the world. People have Leitzanos. Obviously, it doesn't mean people that have a fun time, people that are happy. It means people that are cynical and people that are mock good things, and mock Rabbanim, etc. And they're going to draw you into the evil Leitzanis. And you shouldn't sit on an Armenian bed. Says the Gemara, what does that mean? One shot is lo tigni, don't go to sleep without Kriya Shema. Which Mefarshim speak out, you see the tremendous ma'ila of Kriya Shema. That when you say, if you don't say Kriya Shema, it's God forbid as if you have a Goyish bed. You say Kriya Shema, it makes your bed into a Jewish bed. One little act of Kriya Shema makes the whole act of sleeping, all those hours, as many as they are in your bed, into a Jewish act. Vikadamri, another Pshat says the Gemara, you shouldn't marry a Giyoyres, a female woman who becomes a convert. Vikadamri, Rama is mamish, means to sit on a Armenian bed. Mishamaiser Apapa, famous story which we've spoken about in the past, that he sat in a bed and they accused him of killing a baby. Continues the Gemara, you should not run away from paying taxes. Why not? Because the government's going to catch up to you and take away everything you have. Number 4, do not stand in front of the shar, in front of the bull when it comes out of the agam, the marshland, because the satan is dancing between his horns, which basically means that the ox could be crazy at that moment. So be careful as it comes up. Don't stand in front of it. Amar Rabbi Shmuel, Bishar Shachar b'Yamin Nisan. This means a black shar, a black bull, and the days of Nisan, that's the time that the ox could become crazed when it comes out of the marsh, and you have to be careful. A shartam, a shar that didn't gore 3 times, you have to distance yourself 50 amos. A shar that gores all the time, that could kill, as far as I could see. If the head of the shar is buried in the feeding baskets, sak leigra vishdei darga mitusech. Go up on the roof and throw down the ladder, meaning even though the shar is in the feeding basket, quickly run away and knock off the ladder so it doesn't come to get you. Says the Gemara, Amar Rab, Nizi de Tura, the cry of the bull, Hain Hain is Hain Hain. Niza de Aryeh, the cry of the lion is Zezeh, Zezeh. Niza de Gamla, Da Da. Niza de Arba, the cry of the bull, Hilni, Haya, Hila, Kailia, and these are more like onomatopoeias. These are words that's how they sound. That's how the boat sounds, the lion, etc. When they depart. Amar Abayi, or dog v'kois chamin. Says Abayi, skin or dogfish, kois chamin ahakab ubeitzim and eggs, v'kinim and lice, levanim that are white, kula and kasha davar achar. They're all harmful for another item. We all know what is davar achar always referred to. Refers to tsaras. Now the Gemara explains, man the gani. What does it mean? Hides means someone that sleeps. Amshuchi Titzala on the unfinished skin of a tanner. Dog would refer to fish. Shibuta b'yomi Nisan is referred to the shibuta fish, a large fish in the days of Nisan. Kais, what does that refer to? Shiurei kaisa de harsana, the leftovers of the harsana cup. Chamima, kaisa de harsana. Chamin, what does the haka refer to? Chamime de chamimi, the extremely hot water, mishadri aliyeh, if it's poured on top of you. Beitzim eggs. Man de majach haklipes, this refers to one who steps on eggshells. Kinim, lice, lavanim that are white. Man de mechaver, levushev loy naterlei, someone who washes their clothing and he doesn't wait, lo naterlei tam the yami, he does not wait 8 days, which is the amount of time you should wait after you do a laundry. V'adar lavash la, and you rear it right a way, we're holding 2 lines before the wide lines. Baryan, Hanoch, Akinim. So what happens? The lice give birth, or whatever that means. Because of the Davarach, I mean, if you wash the clothing and you don't wait enough time, it makes the lice reproduce, and then the clothing is infested, and that can make the person get leprosy. Amar Abba, Beisa, the Isbe Shunra, a house that has a cat. We're now in the first wide line of Kufya Bezim and Beis. Loynail Ba'inish Bloi Masni. A person should not enter into such a house without shoes. My taima, b'sham the shanra kata l'chiyua. You know why? Because the cat might kill a snake. V'achal, eat the snake. Visvei b'chiyei. And then you know what? This that might be left over the little bones, garmi katini of the snake. V'yasla garma d'chiyua kare. And if you step on the snake bone, on this little bone of the snake, it might go into your foot. Lo enough, you're not going to get out this tiny bone. V'istak and lane, it can be dangerous. So if there's a cat in the house, wear shoes. Ikadiamri, Besa, the less Beishan, the opposite, a house without a cat, then Loneo Bayinish, you should not walk in there bahachra in the darkness. Why not? My taima. The mamachach there might be a snake. You're not going to know about it, because you're not going to see the mistaken and it could harm you. And that is the end of the snake Gemara. Says the Gemara, Gimel Devarim Sivrei Shalba Rav Yosi. 3 things that Shalba Rav Yosi said as Rabbi. Don't damage yourself. You can't damage yourself. Ma'i, what does that mean? So never have a court case amongst 3 people. What's the problem with the court case? 3 people. One is going to be against you. Trey Zadi. Another 2 people are going to be his witnesses, and therefore you're never going to be able to win. So don't go to court against 3 people. Don't stand on a merchandise. Don't go to a store and stand by the merchandise if you don't have any money to buy it. Either it's because people will think that you're buying it, or it's because it'll look like it's inferior product that you didn't buy it. But don't do that. It's chatavla, says Gemara, when your wife goes to the mikvah, do not sleep with her the first night. Amarav, what's this referring to? Benina derais, referred to Nida derais oil. Folks like me'ayin psuach, her rechem is open, and dilma mishchach ziva, and therefore we're afraid she might have a discharge that night. Which of course does not apply nowadays, because we have a chumrah that we never count the zayinikim until after 5 days, and even the zayinikim themselves. And therefore, of course, the exact opposite we know nowadays is a tremendous mitzvah for husband and wife to be together on the Leil Tvila. Says the Gemara, that's Rabbi. 3 things Rabbi Yehuda commanded Rabbi. Don't go out alone at night. Don't stand in front of a candle. Undress. And don't go into a new bathhouse. Why not? The floor might give away from underneath you. Until how many months? Until 12 months. You should not stand in front of a candle when you're undressed. as we learned in a brayso, we're going to finish off with this memra. We'll call it a day. If someone stands in front of a candle and dress, he could become epileptic. He could have seizures, faint. And someone who sleeps with his wife in front of a candle, as well, could, God forbid, harm his children. Actually, I'm sorry. Let's just do one more brayso. If someone sleeps with his wife and has relations on a bed that a child is sleeping on, that child could, God forbid, get epilepsy. It's only referring to the child's not 1 year old. That's the buff. It's a 1 year old baby. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. If the baby's at the foot of the bed, that's the it's not a problem. You don't put your hand on the child. Last one, Bob. And therefore, let's just conclude. I'm sorry, I keep saying we're going to stop. Let's conclude the other statement. The time we went to the Braysa, the down on Tuesday or Friday night. Why not? There was this person, this shade, Igras Bas Malchus, with 18 myriads of Malch Chaval that would go out. And each one has rishus to damage at that time. Therefore, don't go out on Tuesday and Friday night. And tomorrow we'll pick up with the story of this Igras Bas Malchus and all of the evil dangers that she could do tomorrow on Sunday and the 1st of Nisan.